What's the deal, nigga? What's the deal, nigga? Look, today I want to talk about the concept of extreme work seasons, and I got that from Hamza. But I like the term because it says a few things. So it immediately says extreme, and then it says season, right? And the season means that it's temporary. It's not everlasting. But I think this is important because extreme seasons are necessary for success. And I say that because if you look at any successful person, primarily actually anybody, literally a politician or a athlete or a scholar or a mathematician, this and that, like whatever success, occupationally or just whatever like that, any person that's achieved that type of level in a given field had extreme seasons of study, extreme seasons of work, extreme seasons of productivity, stuff like that. Like when you're a student at Harvard or wherever the heck, like you putting your all into your studies and your schooling and your assignments and this and that, because that's what it requires. And I realize that it requires like extreme focus on things in order to get things moving in the right direction, and then you can kind of dial it back later and integrate it. What I call integration, like you integrate your extreme season into a normal routine, into like more balance basically. But you don't want to start off balanced. You know, that's the big difference. Like I wouldn't start off balanced. I think you have to go extreme in a lot of areas in order to see that initial improvement, like in order to get the ball rolling basically. And so there's a pipeline to this. And so I have two. So it goes from concentration slash extreme concentration on this one thing. So whether that's, then this could be for a number of things. The three that I have listed are socializing, fitness, and academic slash productivity. And I'm saying that because I'm in school right now. But academics, that's like, I feel like all that type of stuff requires extreme seasons, in order to get the ball rolling. In order to maintain the right habits and then to be able to integrate them into a normal, more balanced routine. So it starts off with the extreme version of it. So for grades, that might mean you're spending a lot of time studying. Like you're not going out, you are like fully locked into the books, right? And especially this is true around testing season or whatever they call it, like finals week or whatever. When there's finals and there's tests and stuff like that, that's an example of an extreme season. When you're just like kind of like, all right, my test is coming up, I gotta lock in. When it comes to socializing, I think this is another one that you need an extreme version of it. Like whether you're in college or whether you're a young dude or young person or whatever, like in a mall or at a party, or just like you're just going out constantly, like getting that exposure, getting that experience. That's very crucial, because if you try to become a social person, you barely get any experience. It doesn't work as well. All this stuff, it can be done more balanced, right? It can be done, but you just make a lot slower progress. And so I say you gotta like spend a season like fully locked into your productivity in your academics. I'll label that as work. Like whether it's academics or like your business or whatever, just work. So there's work, and then there's socializing, and then there's like fitness. Those are the three main things that I found like really encapsulate this. And so for the socializing, you have to have like a season where you're just going out and just trying stuff. You're just going out and just putting yourself out there, just taking risks, making cold approaches. What I'm saying? Just going crazy, like doing all that stuff. You need to have a season of that. Don't just try to build it up slowly or like kind of barely do it or whatever. Like you should have a season where you're fully like trying to do this, where you're fully trying to establish this habit in your life. Because if you do that, then you find out a lot of little tips and tricks. You find out a lot of little tricks of the trade, if you will. Like just little things that you're picking up along the way, if this is your main focus for that season of life. Like it can be during the summertime, like if you're in high school, whatever, it can be during the summer. What I'm saying? Or it could be just on certain weekends. Just it's all about having that mindset of just trying to improve. And it's like if you have that mindset, and you go a little bit extreme, if you go extreme with your stuff, like you will make a lot of progress because you find out a lot of stuff when you take action. You just find out a lot of different little ways of maneuvering, those little tactics. They really make a big difference when it comes to especially like socializing and stuff. There's a lot of little things, like little nonverbal things and just social cues, that takes a lot of experience to kind of pick up on. So you have to have that. And so I think that's a big one. And then when it comes to the fitness, this is especially important. Like you can't just like start off and go like 2 times a week or whatever. I mean, actually, you can, right? You can do that. But if you want to get to like a really good level, a really good physique, that's not going to get it, right? Like that's not going to get it done. That's good enough in order to get you started going to the gym. But at some point, you're going to have to go like pretty extreme with it, because getting a really nice physique actually requires a lot. It requires like a lot of sleep, a lot of water. It requires the right diet, a lot of protein and stuff like that. This is stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily do on a day-to-day basis. You have to have that goal. You have to have that extreme season, concept in your mind when it comes to this stuff in order to really fully maximize it and really learn as much as you can about it. And so that's why this is very important. So you start off with the concentration on these specific tasks or these specific areas of life. You start off with the concentration on it, and then you start off with the concentration and you go to competence, right? Like, so is you focus intensely on it and you do a lot of research, or you do a lot of action. I would suggest more action than research personally, as a prior overthinker. But either way, it's a lot of concentration, and eventually with enough action and enough trial and error, you're going to become competent in this area. And so that's your competence. Like you become pretty good at it, right? Like you become good at, taking tests. You become good at, keeping your grades up. You become good at, socializing, and you can go up and talk to random people and ask questions and this and that. You're good at lifting weights. Like you have a good physique. You know what you're doing when you go in there. You have a little workout plan or routine or whatever. Like you're competent in that area. And so this doesn't mean you're a master at it, but you're competent. Like you're pretty decent at it. And then once you go from that, this is where you become efficient. This is like my favorite stage, honestly. Like this is the stage that I'm like kind of emerging out of and going into the next one. And it's about, like just making your process more efficient, like just subtracting things. Like when you're starting off in a given area, there's always, you're trying a bunch of stuff. You're trying a bunch of different tactics and ideas and whatnot. And eventually, once you become competent in that area, you're going to have to subtract some things, right, in order to simplify it. And so that's what makes it more efficient. So, for example, when I was first starting off with my grades, for example, I was not good at studying. I was not good at, reading or any of that stuff. And I started going to the library a lot, which is another little tip, is like to change your environment. And so the library environment helped me to, start reading more and start, taking my education more seriously. And so when I started reading, I just kept reading. Like I only started off reading a few pages a day, but the reading helped me to get into more of the textbooks and stuff, get into more of the textbooks from my school and just read more books in general, right? So I became pretty competent in that. And then when it comes down to efficiency, that's when I had to simplify everything. And so I'm not going there every single day for like 5-6 hours a day, right? I'm going there for like maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, and I'm really focusing on the key things that matter. So for school, this includes taking the practice questions, which I found has been a lot more efficient than just reading the textbook. Like I had to start off with the textbook, right, to build a habit of like getting into my academia and like really taking it seriously. But once you get to a certain point, and you kind of understand what's going on a bit, then you can make it more efficient. You can simplify it. And you can't do that if you don't have the competence first, because you don't know what to simplify. You don't know what to cut out, right? You're just trying everything. Nothing really works yet. So the same thing with the gym. Like I was trying everything. I was going like 5 times a week, 6-7 times a week at one point. And nowadays, like I'm just more efficient with it. I'm way quicker Like when I first started off going to the gym, I used to sit down and like play on my phone for a while, like scroll in between sets and stuff like that. I used to kind of dance around to the music and look around and see if people are looking, and what I'm saying, like just little stuff that just takes up too much time. It adds up, and I would be in there for like 2 hours, bro. I used to go there and I would literally stay there for like 2 to 3 hours just because I was taking so long. I was so inefficient with my process. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally, like, I couldn't even decide what to do. I was so, like, I was just stalling. Like, I would sit there in between machines, like, which one should I do? This one, or should I want to do the arm press or the leg press? And it's just, that does nothing. What I mean? You got to just make it more efficient. So that's where I'm at now. Now I know exactly where I'm going. Or even if I don't know what I'm doing, I kind of just go in there and just do something that I feel like doing. Just do it, and then I get out, right? This is just an example of efficiency. And so once you get to the efficiency part, this also means you're just doing what works for you. So whatever your goals are in that area, you make it efficient enough to, still make progress towards those goals without doing it too much. You're working smarter, not harder. And so once you get to that point where you know what works for you and you know how to make it more efficient, you've simplified your process, then you can integrate it into the rest of your life, right? Because you don't want to be in an extreme season forever. And that depends on what you're trying to do with your life, obviously, but I'm just in normal circumstances. You're not going to stay in an extreme season forever. And so you're going to have to integrate whatever you were extreme in into your normal life. So for example, instead of me having my whole mind, my whole mental bandwidth focused on fitness, which it used to be, I used to obsess over my protein intake, and I would obsess over I still care about this stuff, but I would obsess over it more, and my sleep and my water intake and just like the amount of calories I'm getting and the amount of protein and this and that. Like I would obsess over it, right? And it took up a lot of mental bandwidth. I'm always thinking about, what new thing I can try out, what new thing I can add to my routine, what new, food I can add, ways to increase protein and this and that. And once I found the things that increase my protein, once I found the things that work for me, then I was able to just dial it back and know exactly what I need and just add that to the rest of my life. And so I'm not constantly thinking about fitness. I'm not constantly thinking about the gym. I just do it naturally without even thinking about it. Like I used to have to think about going to the gym, and now I just go. You know what I'm saying? Like I would just go. Once I decide to go to the gym, I just go. Like just, and whenever I finish, like with the library or finish at school or in class or whatever, I just go straight to the gym. Okay, like just without thinking about it, without rationalizing it or whatever, like just thinking, none of that. You know what I mean? Just go. Okay? And so once you integrate all the things, all these different pillars or whatever, then you can expand, and so you can expand it and increase them all together. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the balance comes after you've been extreme in any of these situations first. And then you can kind of raise them all together because the insides and outs of each one. So for example, with the academics and with the socializing and with the grades, it's like they each require their own individual season of extremities. They require their own individual season of focus, so you can get that knowledge, in that efficiency and all of that. And so once you integrate them all together, then you can do them all together, and you can just live your life and just have these little mindsets. You know exactly what time you're gonna go to the gym, you know what you're gonna do there, you know how to study, you know how to socialize, you know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of know all this stuff, and it would be a lot better to do it this way than to try to equally balance it all. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna, like, you're just not gonna improve them all as well if you do it all balanced. Because there's just too much. Like each thing requires its own, extreme season, because there's so much to learn in each pillar. So eventually you get up to a point where you just have these pillars of your life where you've been extreme and you've built up the XP in them. I use XP as a term for this stuff because it's just very easy to understand. Like you build up your XP in each category, right? And the more you have, the more you know about it. And so, you can just implement all of them together because you know so much about it. You've been through it. You've been through a lot of experience when it comes to that. And so that's the point that I want you to get to. And that's the point that I'm at right now. I just emerged out of a deep work season. where I was just like, I was really focused on productivity. I was really focused on getting my work done as soon as possible and as best as possible. And that extreme work season took me a long time because I was, I was pretty lazy. I was procrastinating on even like YouTube stuff. I would procrastinate on editing videos. I procrastinate on like coming up with ideas or whatever. Procrastinate on my studying, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I would miss homework deadlines all the time. Those homework points used to kill me in my classes because I would just procrastinate until the last second, then I would forget, and then oh shoot, the thing was due. Oh well, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just whack. Like you're just losing points for no reason. So it's just I had so many parts where I was just messing up constantly. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while to get to the point where my deep work season was really beneficial and effective. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the point where I got to the efficiency. It took me a while to build up the competence in there. And so then once I did that, and then I was able to, dial it back and be more efficient with it. So now I just go to the library, because I tried a whole bunch of different things. I was trying to do work in my room, and then that didn't really work because I had an Xbox in there and I have a bed in there, obviously. And it's just like, there's just too many distractions. And I tried to avoid the library for a long time for whatever reason. But it's just like, you just got to find what works for you. And I found that the library works for me. I go there and I get my work done. And now that like I did that today, and now I can, do stuff like this, make videos. I can go chill with my friends. I did that last night. I did some work yesterday, and I literally left the library and I started talking to people that were just outside the library. We went to a little festival and we was talking to people there, and we went downtown. We was talking to people there. We was cold approaching and hopping down and doing all this stuff. And I was able to freely do all that because I got my work done. You know what I'm saying? So this is why this is important. I was able to integrate the social part with the work part, but I had that works. The extreme season had to come first so I could know how to efficiently get the work done first, and then get that out the way. So now I can just chill and just focus on this other stuff. So it's all possible to do at the same time, but it needs. I think the caveat is that it needs the extreme season first for any of these, pillars. I think you need the extreme season in order to make significant progress, and then you can kind of dial it back once you know what you're doing. So I think this is the biggest thing that I've kind of realized over my life. And I realized that, one of the first things I did was the fitness. Like I took fitness very seriously. And then I kind of transitioned into the work. Like social was like my last little obstacle. I started off with the fitness, and then I got better with that. Then I started, with the work, and that took me a long time because I was just so out of it. But it took me a long time. And then the social aspect, I feel like that was the last one that I really focused on. Although you could argue that I focused on it earlier when I was about 18, when I first started college. I was very focused on social. And so, and that was a couple years in between when I was focusing on the fitness and the productivity. And so, I had kind of, there was moments in there where I had kind of like doubted myself on my social ability because it had been a little minute. And so once I emerged out of that deep work season, I started back on my social season. And so like, I'm just kind of like, I'm in that now. I'm kind of in that now, but I'm also kind of like just integrating it all together now. With an emphasis on the social season, I would say. So that's where I'm at right now. And so this is why I'm telling you all of this, because I went through it myself. And, this is very beneficial to do it this way. Because if you try to do it all together, you don't really have the skills to. Like improving all these different areas of your life at once is hard enough. It's hard enough even if you know what to do. All right. So let alone if you don't really know what to do, you're just starting off as an 18-year-old or 16-year-old, and you're trying to improve all of this at once. Like you don't even know how. Like you don't even know what's the most effective ways. So I feel like the experience is so much more important than like the facts themselves, because I can tell you all this stuff, and I tell you guys a lot of stuff. There's so much information out there on the internet, but there's no teacher like experience at all. And so and a lot of times you won't even get it. You don't even get the lesson until you go through it yourself. So just focus on these extreme seasons. And you're gonna have to really put that concentration in and focus on these extreme seasons, and you're gonna have to cut off friends and this and that, but it's all worth it. You can always integrate it all back. Just remember that if something ever gets hard, just remember that this is only for a short period of time, and then you can integrate it all back in together once you've figured it out, once you know what you're doing. And you're gonna know what you're doing. Like, you're gonna know that you figured it out once you're just kind of gonna know. I don't really know how to explain it, but you're just gonna know, like, once you've figured it out, to a point where you can, you know, integrate it and stuff. So, and one little tip I have for this, for this concept is just to not overthink it. This is for me specifically, because I was always overthinking stuff, and the biggest thing that helped me with any of this stuff is just trying shit, just going out, taking action, especially with the social season. That is the biggest one, where you have to just eliminate overthinking. Like, for productivity, overthinking can help a little bit, not really, but thinking helps, like when you're doing work or whatever, but not overthinking. Overthinking doesn't help, because, like, even with productivity, you still have to be confident. You still have to, like, submit the thing. You still have to send the email. You still have to you still have to do stuff. You still have to get stuff done in order to be productive. So overthinking is really your enemy when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to rapid improvement, you don't want to overthink about it. That was like a big thing that I struggled with for a long time. So yeah. So anyway, and it comes down to, like, once you get to the point where you know what you're doing, like, you can kind of be more flexible. And this is where I'm at right now. Like, sometimes there's days where I really don't do much. There's days where I don't do much. There's days where I'm doing a whole lot, right? And the key is that, the days that I did nothing or very little, I still did something. I really don't have days where I'm just doing completely nothing anymore. But even on those days where I'm doing a lot less, it's like I still have that anchor. I'm still getting up and doing something, right? And it doesn't affect me if I did less, right? I'm still have that confidence. I still have all the knowledge in order to get right back to it. And then if I do a whole bunch, it doesn't kill me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just working hard, and then I can get right back to it again. So it's all about. So this is what I mean by expansion, and, like, improving it all together. So yeah, bro, you can do all this stuff together. It just takes the right mindset. It just takes the right the right knowledge base and the right experience base. And so on the way that you best improve those is to go extreme with it for a little while. And for the season, I would recommend probably a few weeks to a month or two, maybe 1 to 3 months I would consider as like a season. After that, it kind of, a lot of times it'll get too much. Like, you should be able to figure it out. Like, if you're taking the right action and, like, being consistent, 3 months is plenty of time to be extreme in something and make really good progress. So yeah, this is my take on extreme seasons. Hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and share this video, and I'll see you guys later in the next one. Peace.